Now, and talk about that tornado I just mentioned when we were talking with Chesley. It's now been 5 years since that powerful EF-4 tornado tore through parts of Coweta County, devastated Newnan. The damage was hard, certainly. Healing not yet over. So 5 years later, how is the community dealing? Joe Ripley checked in with folks there, and Joe, this was a massive tornado by Georgia standards.
It really was, Dan. I was there on the ground covering this thing 5 years ago, March 25th, 2021. And you talk about the devastation. Everywhere you see, the landscape was just destroyed. Devastation everywhere you looked, from a high school there that took over $110 million to rebuild, homes, churches, businesses, you name it. Downtown Newnan looked like a bomb had went off, quite frankly. And that's not the defining moment for that community as much as people talk about it still to this day. The defining moment, especially for those folks there, was rebuilding together, neighbors helping neighbors, bringing out the chainsaws, food, water, generators. It was as though, the whole city mobilized and decided that, this is not going to be what defines us. It's going to be our hearts and our generosity for one another. And so out of this was birthed Seasons of Strength. And this was a production that was set to live orchestral music to Vivaldi's Four Seasons, with clips of more than 100 people giving interviews. These people are storm survivors, tornado victims who had seen their livelihoods destroyed, but using their lives now to make a difference and remember that day 5 years ago. Springtime at Unity Baptist Church in Newnan is a time of rebirth and a time of reflection.
How can I use my art as a tool to give my community a mouthpiece?
Gwendolyn Kuhlman took her first steps in Newnan, a city in need of a fresh start after an EF-4 tornado tore through the tight-knit community in 2021.
I'm either going to be sad about this, so my other option is to make something beautiful out of this.
So Kuhlman made Seasons of Strength.
So I've taken clips from the over 100 people who told us their story, and I have woven them over this live orchestral performance of Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
David Kinraid directs the live orchestra, using music to transport an audience to a place and a time words can't express.
It's the Chainsaw Cavalry, and so it's a great piece of music, and it relates that feeling of energy and help.
Paulo Manzo de Sousa choreographed the production with local dancers portraying the devastation, heartbreak, hope, and healing from a community ravaged by the storm.
The expression of fear, love, the caring, the protection of one another, the community coming together.
David Boyd's painting shows the tornado wiping out the landscape, but played in reverse, his landscape wipes away the scene, leaving a blank canvas, a new beginning.
But to see day after day people coming over that bridge, bringing water, bringing tools, bringing food, really kept us going.
A tornado won't define this town, strengthened by Scripture, hope renewed, a town rebuilt together. That defines Newnan strong.
I want this to be something that settles something in their soul.
Catch more of those interviews. The Newnan Coweta History Center actually has an archive of dozens of those interviews that are still very impactful today.
As you drive through Newnan today, is there still evidence of this tornado?
You can see some of the trees still bent, snapped. That's something that time will never fix, or it will take a long time to fix. But more than the material rebuilding, Dan, it's the emotional trauma and toil that it took on the city of Newnan, Coweta County, surrounding areas that really got hit hard. But you can see this is part of the healing.
Yeah.
Sharing the stories and exposing others to some of that to help people understand how devastating this was, but more so than that, how helpful the people were in rebuilding.
I want to bring in Chesley McNeil now to add some perspective to this tornado. I mean, this thing was in the middle of the night in EF-4 on the ground for like an hour, some 40 miles. Yeah. Miraculous that nobody was killed or injured, right?
Just one person.
One person.
Just one person injured as a result of the storm itself. But yeah, you're right. Very miraculous. And obviously technology has helped that over the years. But it's rare for us here in Georgia to get EF-4 tornadoes, right? They have happened here. Never had an EF-5, but that just lets you know that that storm was that powerful. 170 mile per hour winds at its peak, and devastating, right? And how do you prepare for that, especially like you said, in the middle of the night, right? And weather stories or weather events are the things that you remember the most. And so even though it's been 5 years, it's still fresh on their minds. It's kind of like we talk about Snowmageddon, right? Anytime you mention the word snow, that's what you go to. That's what you think about. And so for them, when you think about a severe thunderstorm or tornadoes, that's what they're going to go to. That's always going to be in their memory banks. Could this one be the next one? You know, and so that's what you have to worry about.
When you think back to that day, was there ample warning heading into the evening that there could be bad storms? And I remember that, like, the tornado emergency went out over people's phones at one point, and that signifies you got to get underground now.
Absolutely. We knew that there would be some severe weather in the area, but trying to pinpoint exactly where a tornado is going to hit is very difficult. I've been to outstorm chasing, where we want to see it, right? And so you kind of just anchor down. It's not fun at all. People may think it's fun, but it's not fun. So you sit there in an area that you think it's going to hit, and it doesn't hit nowhere near you. And then once it hits, you try to rush over to get to see it, and they happen so quickly, right? And so it's not in the area for a long time. I kind of mentioned it, the snow. It's no comparison because snow is a long-term event. But tornadoes are very quick and probably last at maximum about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? Because they move so quickly through the area. And in its wake is nothing but destruction.
Yeah, Joe, any final thoughts on what you learned from that community? I'm sure they must be having almost PTSD come springtime.
Absolutely, but you heard Chesley mention the one person who was injured during that storm. I believe one person died as a result of stress on that day. But from the storm impacts, really no one seriously injured or died from the tornado impact itself. They're definitely counting their blessings, Dan. Faith played a huge part in helping that community grow and rebuild and shape that community today. You go down there and they're tighter knit than ever, from the businesses to just the neighbors. They're a friendly people, and you wouldn't think they had been through what they went through. But today you'll see a much brighter Newnan than you did 5 years ago.
And you know what? A reminder to all of us this tornado season: take these watches and warnings seriously, because
Absolutely.
you see what that destruction can do. And the EF-4 is not out of the question, even here in Georgia. Thank you both.